Welcome back to the Manage Palo Alto Firewalls with Panorama and Implement High Availability course. In the previous module, you were introduced to Panorama and how templates and template stacks can be used to configure network and device settings for the firewalls that it monitors. In this module, we're going to keep learning about Panorama. Specifically, we're going to focus on the use of device groups within Panorama. Once you understand what device groups are, and again, how the hierarchy of them is so important, you will begin to build them out, create the objects, and then create the policies. And finally, we will also import the data center firewall and internet gateway firewalls into Panorama. So here's another look at our network diagram. We will continue to build out the configuration for the two remote office locations. Additionally, the data center firewall and internet gateway firewall HA pair already have configurations. Rather than rebuilding these configurations from scratch, we will import these devices into Panorama along with their configurations. What's cool about this is there are specific configurations on these firewalls that we can just push to the two remote office firewalls, so we don't have to recreate anything from scratch. Okay, so let's talk about device groups. Similar to how templates are used to configure the next generation firewall's device and network tabs, Panorama device groups are used to configure settings in the Policies and Objects tabs. As you already know, policies contain source and destination zones, so you might be asking, how do device groups know which zones are available to use for policies when those are configured in the templates and not the device groups? Well, device groups reference the zones that are configured in the template stacks. It does this by determining which firewalls are attached to its device group and then looking at which template stacks those firewalls are a part of. If you don't have any firewalls imported into Panorama yet, no worries, you can use what are called reference templates to tell the device group what zones are available to use in policies. So let's explain some important concepts about device groups by taking a look at how Global Mantic will structure theirs. When you create a device group, Panorama automatically creates a shared device group. So in this device group, you would add objects and policies that you would want to appear on every firewall. Then, Global Mantic will have a USA device group. This device group will inherit the policies and objects of the shared device group, but you can also configure policies and objects to be used specifically for this device group. Then we will have two more device groups, one for any firewall that is located in the global headquarters office, and another for remote office firewalls. And as you might have guessed, under the HQ Firewalls device group, we will have a device group each for the internet gateway firewalls and the data center firewalls. Similarly, we will have device groups for each of the remote office firewalls. So now let's talk about some key concepts you need to know about device groups. Panorama uses the terms ancestors and dependents to reference the relation of one device group to another. Additionally, Panorama only supports up to 4 device groups in the same hierarchy. Depending on which device group is your frame of reference, as you just learned, other device groups in the hierarchy are referred to as either ancestor or dependents. So from the top level device group, which again is always going to be the shared device group, the USA device group would be its child device group, the global HQ firewalls and global remote office firewall device groups would be its grandchild device group, and then from the perspective of the shared device group, the device groups under the global HQ firewalls and global remote office firewalls would be considered the great-grandchild device groups. All of these device groups would be considered dependents of the shared device group. But looking at it from the global SAT remote office firewall group, the global remote office firewalls device group would be its parent, the USA device group would be its grandparent, and the shared device group would be its great-grandparent. And looking at it from another way, from the perspective of the global HQ firewalls device group, the internet gateway firewall device group and the data center firewall device group would be its child device group, so its dependents, and the USA and shared device groups would be its parents and grandparent respectively, but both are considered ancestors. So this leads me to my next point. While template stacks group together similar settings, there is a key difference between template stacks and device groups. Template stacks are comprised of independent templates. Device groups, however, are different, that all dependent device groups inherit the settings that their ancestor device groups have. Now, object values can be overridden, either in dependent device groups or on the firewalls themselves, but unless that happens, objects and policies configured in an ancestor device group will be received by their dependents. And like I said earlier, the zone information that's going to be used in policies is derived from the template stacks that the firewalls attached to the device groups are comprised of. I just wanted to reiterate this for you so you can think about how you want to structure your device groups as well as your template stacks. And I would just urge you to spend as much time as you can planning up front because it is quite labor intensive to change these settings at a later date.